Palworld is the Pokemon knockoff that has grabbed YouTubers around the world by their subscriber count and demanded that they sing its praises for every gamer and furry alike. All things considered, this isn't entirely unwarranted. I'll say it. Controversial opinion incoming. I like the good thing. But there are some serious problems that people are just not talking about that threaten the very foundation on which this game stands. But in order to understand that, I first have to explain what exactly is Palworld, why is it being criticized, and when I reach the 10-minute mark by padding this video with barely related jokes, I'll just cut to the chase because editing is hard.
Elephant green screen effect.
At its basic, Palworld is yet another open-world action-adventure game. Only, instead of similar games where half the map is an empty field, most of the world is filled to the brim with creatures called Pals. The rest is a labor camp. Pals are the half of the game's title, Palworld, and they earn their place. The main goal of any game, except Final Fantasy XVI, is to survive. And Pals make this much easier. They can be used to farm wood, stone, ore, food, Bitcoin, or even other Pals. Of course, you need each of these materials for different reasons. Wood and stone are generally used in the most basic crafting recipes, ores for advanced crafting, or if they're blue you could use them to make funny glowing looking rocks to catch more Pals. And of course, food is both for yourself and the Pals. All of this effort is basically spent to drag your character kicking and screaming from the Stone Age to Gun, so that they can catch stronger Pals and survive in the wild. At its basics, the premise is pretty simple. Get resources to survive, get Pals to help gather resources quicker, use resources to get stronger Pals. The main goal is technically the beat the tower monsters who function as bosses, but I'm sure most people will find it more entertaining to simply just build elaborate bases, catch every species of Pal, or just generally massacre the sheep population the moment they learn that you could fly in this game. Even though it's a basic premise, I have to hand it to the game. The Pals are still intricately designed. The environment is fun to explore, and even though it sounds kind of boring when you break it down into the mechanics like I just did, it really does feel like a fun adventure. That's really all there is to it. Except for the breeding system, tech points, traits, big natures, moves, leveling, types, ammo, stamina, upgrades, bounty system, and maybe we need to calm down for a minute. Yeah, why not we all just take a deep breath and a big step back. Did I mention how much I like this game? In all seriousness, this is one of the major issues with the game that even I didn't notice at first. How much of a learning curve there is for newcomers. Sure, for a true gamer like myself, I can just look at this and go, wow! This game is just like Ark, and Zelda, and Pokemon, and Fortnite, and Genshin Impact, and screw it, let's throw a little bit of Barbie and the Three Musketeers in there. But what about the people who don't have the same kind of mental illness that I do? What's poor old grandma going to think when she finds out that this Pal canonically wants to breed with humans? I'm not making that up, this is official lore. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those people who thinks the difficulty of every game should be capped at Tetris, but when this game is literally being advertised as Pokemon with guns, it sets a certain expectation. I'm a huge Pokemon fan, and even I'll admit my main complaint with the series is how boringly easy it can be. So when a fan base made up of literal children and 40-year-olds with a special interest see this many buttons on their screen, I am not going to blame them for running back to the Gardevoir Sexy tab they have saved. With that being said, I'm not asking the developers to rethink the fundamentals of their game, or even to change that much for that matter. The game is still in early access and has plenty of time to implement basic, optional features. Crafting, for example, is a bit more difficult than other games because you have to physically unlock crafting recipes with a limited amount of points you get for each level up. This can be particularly rough when the player can't decide whether to get the necessary upgrade or the 7th decorative lawn gnome. To that end, you could just highlight particularly useful things to unlock. It would be as simple as adding a yellow background to the item, and it would double as an incentive for players to check out cool items they might unlock later, which could help set their goals. Another approach that I think would do wonders is from Elden Ring of all places. The game still basically just throws babies into the blender, but if the player happens to fall into the gaping hole right next to where they spawn, they could at least learn how to run before being pummeled to death. This kind of tutorial would really be a win-win because new players get the option of trading 5 minutes of staring at instructions so obvious you would think they went senile in return for a basic Pal as well as instructions on how to train, feed, and use it, all while veteran players had already naked blitzed the giant leaf elephant 12 times over. It might not seem like much to most people, but as someone who genuinely likes this game and likes sharing the experience of games, I want Palworld to do as well as it possibly can. To me, that means getting as many people on board without having to sacrifice any content or aspects of their original vision. Oh, thank God, it's gone. Hey you, if you like this video, or don't, I don't really care, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and maybe give me a chance to waddle on over to another video. Like this one, for example. Battle Cats, the childhood game that you might have just forgotten.